Hi, I'm Steph. I'm a personal branding coach and photographer who helps business owners resonate with their soulmate clients through their personal brand. My specialties are working with business mindset, intentional brand imagery, and bringing the practical and energetic techniques together to create impactful personal brands that shine online. Thank you so much for spending a few moments with me today to learn the importance of your personal brand and a few tips to improve it today. Let's dive in. So why is a personal brand important? People buy from people. I love this phrase because it really comes down to the core of what a personal brand is really about. And that is that somebody wants to buy from the person behind the business rather than just the business itself. Gone are the days where, you're looking specifically for a company to help you as much as who is behind that company, especially when you're working in personal services such as like mortgage brokers, realtors, health coaches, anyone that you are going to have some sort of personal relationship. People really want to know the person behind them. And also, you think of how all the movement behind like buy local, support people local that you know, support your neighborhood. That vibe is all about people want to know that who that money is going towards and that it's going to be feeding their families and putting food on their table and supporting somebody who's going to do a little happy dance after each sale rather than maybe the big company that's going to just make another $1 billion this year. So that's where a lot of people are moving towards and have been for quite a while. And so this is why personal branding has gotten big over the last couple of years, because people want to know who they're buying from, especially after the pandemic, where you might not get the opportunity to meet in person, or a lot of online businesses, you never meet in person, even if it's over Zoom, or a lot of transactions are done even before like any sort of connections made. And with such a vast amount of choice out there, somebody wants to know who's the best fit for them to provide this service or product for them. And the best way that you can tell them that you're the best fit is through your personal brand. So when people are doing that online research and they're networking, they're going to know who you are through the capacity of your personal brand, and so that they'll want to buy from you. And as you build your personal brand and consistency and putting yourself out there and sharing a little bit about what you do, how you solve things for people, who you are, it starts to create this trust and likability. You're no longer this two-dimensional person that you just see online, and you become this more rounded person, somebody that somebody could imagine just knowing in real life as a friend, or just somebody that they really like. And they're going to want to buy from that person over somebody that doesn't really have a lot of dimension to them and they don't know anything about. And so this is your opportunity to set yourself apart as well through your personal brand and say that, like, this is who I am. And if you resonate with me, then let's work together. And so it also creates such a beauty in the business world because, well, there's so much competition in absolutely every single industry. There's nobody who's exactly like you. And so when you create this personal brand, you're putting this thing out there that says, this is what I'm good at, and this is how I can help you. And if this is jives with you, then let's work together. And so all of a sudden, you're starting to get your little corner of your business niche, and you start working with these people that just really jive with you. And then you leave the rest for somebody else who gets to jive with them. And so it becomes this like amazing business thing where there's enough business to go around, but you know that you're going to get the right people for you and grow your business that way. So it just becomes like such less about the competition and more about just being yourself and telling the world what you can do and how you can solve things for people. So that's why it's so important, because if you're just out there and you put a headshot up on your website and just a little bit about you, that's not going to connect so much to the person who's doing the exact same thing as you business wise, but has a little more connection to somebody because they've developed this personal brand. So what are 3 items that you can develop in your personal brand today to make sure that you are successful? The number one thing, and I don't think enough people spend enough time on this, is actually knowing what you're good at and how it solves problems for people. And what this means is really understanding your craft and the magic that you provide to the world in your business, but also how it solves problems for people. A lot of people start businesses because they're good at something, but they don't necessarily know how to connect it to what people need. So if you're starting, or even if you're finding that like people aren't buying from you, how are you connecting those two things together? If you're a mortgage broker who solves the problem of somebody needing a mortgage, that's a pretty easy connection. But say if you're a health coach who works with hormones, with people who have hormone issues, how can you solve that problem for people and explain it in the best way possible? And so this is where it becomes such a beautiful thing in your personal brand, because this is where you really shine and you can say to people, well, this is how I'm going to solve your problem. And even for somebody like a realtor or a business coach or something, getting really specific in that can really help you bring in more people as well. So even though you may sell houses to families looking to buy, what if you made that even more specific and said, you know, maybe you're a realtor who works in a specific community who loves to sell houses to people who have challenges with their small businesses because their incomes doesn't show quite as high, like that kind of thing, right? So how do you specifically solve that problem? What problems are you solving? The next thing is having a consistent visual brand. Like this is the part of your personal brand that is almost the obvious, but a lot of people don't leverage this enough. And what this means is having consistent colors, imagery, your voice, and graphics. So your colors is having a consistent color palette. Bonus points if you can make sure that that color palette actually is intentional. So there's so many layers to color theory, both from an energetic level and a traditional level, and then merging that with your own personal brand, that you can resonate with your clients, that you're trying to reach. On an unconscious level, color theory is incredibly strong and such a good marketing tactic. But the most important thing is that you're just using consistent colors across your brand, so that if you have blue in your brand, then everything that you do marketing wise should have some blue in it, so that when somebody sees something come up on their social media feed and your specific blue, and then you jump over to your website and you hand out a business card and you see photos, everything starts to come together and you start to see a recognizable brand. And this goes for your imagery, your voice being like how you speak, and not necessarily just audio, just the language that you use, and similar graphics throughout your brand. And what this will do over time is, when you think of bigger brands, like corporate brands, things like, if you think of McDonald's Golden Arches, you recognize that right away because it's an established brand. You think of John Deere Green and you instantly kind of get that nice green in your mind, probably with the hint of yellow. Those are corporate brands, but it works similar with your personal brand, where when you start using consistent colors, consistent imagery, and consistent things over time, people don't need to think twice when they see your content. And if you've built up that trust and likability, as they're scrolling quickly through content, they're going to stop because they're going to be like, oh, that's the person that I like to consume content from. As opposed to if you're jumping all over the place with different graphics and different colors, then you're going to find that people are not going to instantly jump onto your content and create that trust and likability and recognizable image, because you're confusing them. And so, for example, like my username is the Violet Steph. My brand is all purple. And people tell me all the time that they see my stuff right away and they recognize it because of this specific purple, to the point that even people will think of purple and they'll think of me. And so when you create such a strong, consistent imagery in your personal brand, it just creates a consistency throughout and helps people anchor back into what you are saying. And so this is really an easy part of your personal brand, but it's also one that people really don't take the time to develop. So if you take that time to develop that and really have this style guide that you work with and consistency throughout, you will probably see not only an improvement in the look and professionalism of your brand, but also an improvement in who you attract. Lastly, people are not specific enough with their target clients. And what I mean by this is a lot of people, especially when you're starting in your business, you want to just help everyone. And I have conversations with a lot of people who do just want to help everyone because they don't want to say no to anyone because they don't want to say no to business. But the truth is, if you try and help everyone, you will help no one because you're not specific enough. And there's somebody out there in your field who's more specific than you, who's going to resonate with somebody that you're trying to attract because they're more specific. So if you're newer in your business, you don't necessarily have to be extremely, extremely specific, but you want to get more specific as you move through your business. And even if you're not outwardly saying who exactly you work with, you need to know yourself who your specific soulmate client is so that you can start talking to them, marketing to them, and just sending out to the universe, hey, this is who I want to work with. Send these people to me. And you will see, like, over time, you start to mold your content to fit these people. And if the more specific you start to get, the stronger they will start to resonate with you. And then you'll get those more soulmate clients because they're exactly who you're looking for. But in the beginning, if you find that you want to cast the net a little bit wider, that's okay. But just know who exactly you're trying to move towards working with. I guarantee every person who starts to get more specific, even in a non-specific industry, tends to start to do a little bit better and enjoy who they're working with. So for your brand checklist, I love to use this thing called the Me Brand System. So something I created just to help keep reminder of the 3 parts that you really need to have in your personal brand. And that's mindset, image, and implementation. This is the easiest way to make sure that you're checking all the boxes in your personal brand today. So when you think of your mindset, you want to know, like, what are you good at? How does that solve somebody's problem? Who is your specific person? That's the mindset side of your personal brand. Your image is what we think when we think of brand, is your brand colors, your brand imagery, your brand photos, and your marketing materials. And then implementation is basically, how are you getting your message out? Somebody who wants to meet more in-person people is going to spend more time networking in person, leveraging local events, that kind of thing. Somebody who works more online is going to put more focus into things like Instagram, maybe their website. A lot of people just think they want to just throw their resources at everything, but usually, unless you have a manager, it's best to focus on how you want to get your clients. So the implementation part is very important of your personal brand. How do you think that you're going to start connecting with people? Where are you going to meet your people that you want to connect with? And how is that going to help you reach your goals of who you want to work with? So I hope that was useful for you in a personal brand point of view. And I would really love to help you take this a step further. And so if you would want to dive deeper into resonating with your soulmate clients and building your personal brand, we dive into your brand colors. We dive into how to figure out your messaging. We dive into all those amazing things. I have a course called Resonate, which is launching again in February 2023. I've run this twice and we've already had some really awesome results with it. I'd love to chat with you about that. And you can just reach me through email at steph@stephfournier.com or stephfournier.com. And of course, I would love to connect with you on social media. I hang out the most on Instagram at the Violet Steph. And you can also check me out on LinkedIn and Facebook using the same username. Thank you again for joining me today. I hope you learned a little bit about your personal brand and you get a little bit more inspired to get more specific, get more consistent, and really just start putting yourself out there so that you can resonate with your soulmate clients. Have a good one.